Elvis. That's technically the name of this album. There's really not, like, it's called TV Special, sometimes subtitled NBC TV Special, but really, if you just look at it, if you picked it up on a shelf, it's just Elvis. And there are 3 albums in Elvis's career that have the title of just Elvis. We've covered one from 1956. This is the second one, and there's a third one in the 70s. I would argue that if you took just the 3 albums titled Elvis off the albums collection and gave them to someone who wasn't, they weren't not a fan, like they didn't hate Elvis, but they just didn't really know much about him, I would find it very difficult to believe that they would walk away from those 3 albums just called Elvis not a fan. Because this is one of his best works. Everybody knows why this is so significant, because it was later called the Comeback Special. At the time, it was not called the Comeback Special. It was actually called Singer Presents Elvis. And this is a really good album. It doesn't contain all of the television special that featured on TV, but it comes pretty darn close. It starts with Trouble and Guitar Man as a medley. That's the fascinating thing before I get further. When I actually put this into the CD player, I was shocked that it actually only has like 8 tracks. Because they tie so many of these together as like medleys, and they're not necessarily separated out to individual tracks. So the first one is Trouble on Guitar Man, which opens the television special, and this was his like, I'm back. I mean, not like he ever went away, but he was back. And then just he runs the gamut of blues, rhythm and blues, country, rock and roll, Lottie Miss Claudie, Baby What You Want Me to Do, Heartbreak Hotel, Hound Dog, All Shook Up, Can't Help Falling in Love, Jailhouse Rock, Love Me Tender. I mean, he's running through his hits and doing them with more ferocity than he's put into basically anything in the last 7 years leading up to this album. And then you flip the record over, and all of a sudden, while you've had His Hand in Mine and How Great Thou Art, despite the beautiful arrangements on that and the influence that you can hear from black gospel quartets and things like that, Where Could I Go But to the Lord, Up Above My Head and Saved, they are some of the most contemporary things that Elvis could have recorded at that time. The arrangements on the production numbers in the special are very 60s, very groovy, very very soul. They're very with the times for 1968. And then he does Blue Christmas, which replaced Tiger Man in the original broadcast and obviously on the album, making it kind of a weird choice in retrospect. I understand that it was originally conceived as a Christmas special. I understand Colonel Parker's logic, and he wanted his like one concession, and it was Blue Christmas. Not that his version of Blue Christmas is bad. No, not at all. But it seems odd to have a Christmas song in the middle of all this if you don't know the story. One Night, in which Elvis throws in a mix of lyrics from both the one that everyone knew and the original version, One Night of Sin. He kind of crosses the lyrics a little bit on that. And then a new song for this album called Memories, which was written by Mac Davis, who became a little bit bigger of a country star in the 80s. But he served Elvis extremely well as a songwriter. and I wish Elvis would have done more of his material because he was a phenomenal songwriter, is still. And then we get the big medley, which was cut down pretty heavily already in the TV show, with 2 sections censored out, and then cut even further down on the album. Nothingville, Big Boss Man, Guitar Man, Little Egypt Trouble, and the Guitar Man finale. And then If I Can Dream, which is one of the most beautiful songs in his repertoire. It was very timely. Bobby Kennedy had been assassinated. Martin Luther King Jr. had been assassinated. I don't think that people necessarily give this album. I wonder if sometimes that maybe his celebrity was, and the iconography overpowered the message and the music, and he became this. Especially in the 70s, he sort of became this icon of the mainstream. Particularly after he died. He became kind of the guy that everyone held up, like, oh my gosh, I remember when Elvis died. How many times did you hear that growing up? If you didn't, if you weren't around then. Or if you were, you probably do remember where you were when you heard that Elvis died. And then the movies, the biopics, and the books, and the tell-alls, and the TV shows, and the impersonators, and it makes me wonder whether or not that all kind of shrouded what was most important about Elvis's career. And that's one of my favorite songs. And it's a lot of people's favorite song. It's right up there with Can't Help Falling in Love and Suspicious Minds as one of the greats. But in particular because to tell you how much that song meant to him, he never performed it again. Now, you could say that about a lot of the songs that he recorded. Like, he didn't go back to, freaking some Harem Holiday. Like, he didn't go back and do that again, because he didn't care about that song. This song was so perfect for the time and place that he couldn't have possibly done it again, and done it as well as he did it in this special, and on this album in particular. If you've not heard this album in any configuration, if you've not seen the TV special in any configuration, what the hell are you doing watching me? You need to go find that, because that's kind of who this guy is. That whole special is it was a comeback. It was him reminding the world that not only was he still there, but he was still relevant. That the music that he was creating and could create could still do amazing things and inspiring musicians and inspiring change in the world. And I think he wanted to do that with If I Can Dream. There's a story that after he recorded If I Can Dream, when he was in the recording studio, he looked over at the producer and said, I'm never going to sing another song I don't believe in. And I honestly think that he kept to that. A lot of people don't like some of the stuff he recorded in the 70s, and we'll get to some of that. And there's some, I understand why some people don't like what he recorded in the 70s, but I don't think there's a single song that he recorded after 68 that he was insincere about singing. I think he stuck to that till the day he died. I actually have this sitting by my desk. I just got it a couple weeks ago, right after I got the box, or actually just before I got the box set. I haven't opened it yet, but I just picked this up on vinyl just before I got the box set, and I got it at the Books A Million. It's a limited series, and this thing's never getting opened. And I'm not usually one of those people who's very, picky about that sort of thing. I love opening stuff. I mean, music is meant to be played, and if you've got music, it needs to be played. I don't think I'm going to open this one up. Not just because of its rarity, limited to 500 copies. Just because I think this is the one album that, to me, signifies why I like Elvis so much. And so I don't hold much sacred regarding Elvis, but this music I do. This is the one album. It's not my favorite album, coincidentally, but it so well encompasses everything that was great about Elvis. So I'm done gushing. We'll move along. We got more to cover. So, but that's like I said, if you haven't heard this, if you haven't seen it, do, please.